Shalom, shalom. Alrighty, let's see. All right. First and foremost, giving all honor and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Do so by way of His Son, who the world ignorantly knows as Jesus Christ, as we recognize that He is our instrument of salvation for our nation. Um, and by default, it is our hearts and prayers desire that all Israel might be saved, right? Generally speaking, on this side of the Americas would be the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? Although we do recognize that we have been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. This lesson is going to be called "What if the salt has lost its savor?" Right? An infamous line um, that I think people know across the board that read the Bible or are familiar with the Bible. Where it talks about "Ye are the salt of the earth," right? And of course, in context, we're looking at that as being the Israelites, talking to the Israelites and how they were supposed to be the salt of the earth. And then he follows up with this question, and we'll get right into the question here. Let's see. Let me share my screen really quick. Boom. All right. And it says Matthew 5 and 13, Christ is speaking. He says, "Ye are the salt of the earth. But if the salt hath lost its savor, right, wherewith shall it be salted? Um, it is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden underfoot of men," right? So what is it saying here? He's saying that we're supposed to be the salt of the earth. Um, and many times we go over this verse, and it is associated with the fact that as Israelites, right, as predominantly the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right, we drive culture. We give the earth flavor, right. um we set trends, right. um I mean, just look at it through common sense lens. We they say we dance the best, right, we cook the best, we were the most athletic, right, most fashionable, right, all of these things, right, we give the earth flavor. But it says if we have lost, well, if the salt has lost its savor, it's therefore good for nothing, right? So why, in a sense, it's like saying, man, why even use the salt if it's not even going to add flavor to what it's being used for, right? So we always look at it in this lens of in that particular association. I was watching a video the other day, and shout out to Captain Taz in the Sakari camp. I want to go ahead and first and foremost and say and give kudos where kudos is deserved, right. I don't want anybody to come on here and misconstrue saying that I stole material to talk about or to teach or anything like that, because I know how some people are, right. But I do want to recognize that this lesson, man, is kind of steered off of what the brother had said in one of his videos, right? So he gave another aspect of what it means to be the salt of the earth, and I could dig it, right? I liked it, right? And so one thing that he brought up was the fact that even when people use salt, right? Not only do they use salt for flavor, but salt is often commonly used as a purging agent, right? A sense of purification, right? So if you look at that, right, just saying that we are supposed to be the salt of the earth, right? We are the ones that are supposed to be not just the drivers of culture, but the ones that are supposed to purge or purify the land or the earth or the nations thereof that are the inhabitants of earth, right? And what has happened is we have lost our savor, right? Not only have we have lost, that flavor that came with it that we're supposed to be doing, but we lost the purging element that we're supposed to contain, right? And with that being said, since we're not purging the earth like we're supposed to be doing, purging it of iniquity, of sin, of wickedness. Since we're not doing that, we're now good for nothing. So what was the end of the verse say? It is then forth good for nothing but to be cast out and to be trodden under foot of men, right? And that's exactly what has happened to the so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? Gonna share some precepts with you guys to further share or display that point, right? Let's see here. We're in Matthew. Um, let's take a dive over to Deuteronomy 28 and 48, right? Just honing in on this bottom part. It says, "But to be cast down and be trodden under foot of men." Right. And if you guys are familiar with the Bible, familiar with going to church, or just uh, if you're just a everyday colloquial Christian, right? You've heard the term or the phrase, "We're supposed to be the head and not the tail." Now the problem is we have been made the tail. Why? Because this very reason, right? Because we lost our purging agents, our purging elements, right? To purify the earth, or to purify the land, right? And our salt has lost its savor. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28. Deuteronomy 28, and I think I want verse 48. Might want to start at 47 now. Start at 47. Let's see what it say. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things, because we decided not to serve the Most High God, but because we decided not to use our superpowers, which were to purify this land, to set this land aright, right, to purge out wickedness and sin uh, in all nations, in all aspects of the world. Because we failed to do this, because we didn't want to serve the Lord said, you know what? Well, I'm gonna cause you to serve your enemies, right? And when you serve your enemies, this is going to happen. Uh, 28 and 48. Therefore, thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he has destroyed thee, right? Letting us know that, hey man, the stuff that we were supposed to be the ones where people were serving us in hunger and thirst and nakedness, and to receive that purging, that purification, which comes with um, these laws, statutes, and commandments, right? Um, and since we weren't that standard, I tell people all the time, right? As the chosen people, chosen nation, the Israelites, um, you go on to read that it's not because we were just exceeding in number or anything like that the Most High chose us or anything like that, um, but simply He chose us to be a standard in the earth, right? So he can deal directly with one nation. You ever saw like a group conversation, or a dialogue being taken place, and somebody has a standpoint of who's in charge here? I just want to talk to you, right? Somebody come into the job, or to a place of business, and they ask for the manager, or the assistant manager, or whatever, and they say, man, I want to talk directly to you, right? And then it's up to that person to then relay that message clearer to the others around. Same thing with the Most High God. The Most High God chose a nation. He said, man, I only want to deal directly with you guys, right? That's why I said, you only have I known of all the families of the earth, right? I only want to deal directly with you guys. And then if you guys do what you're supposed to do, everybody else should follow suit, right? You guys should take this information as my supervisors of this earth, right? And relay it to the rest of the employees, right? And so that was our job. We literally were supposed to be the teacher's pet. And we failed at it. Let's see here. Let's go to and we can see the back end of failing from being the teacher's pet, just living in the earth today, right? This is a rhetorical question, but you sitting here watching this, right? Whether you're watching it right now or you're gonna watch it in the future, just close your eyes and think about it for a minute. The world that we live in right now, um, Is it chaotic, or is everything kind of running smooth? Right, just think about that, right? uh let's go to the book of Proverbs 29:2. All right, just think about that. Are we living in chaos, or is everything kind of running smooth? And it could be worse, right? I can tell you right now, man, I think the world is in complete chaos, and I don't know if it can get any worse than this, right? But I know it's going to have to, which is the scary part. But this is Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. That's supposed to be us, right? We're supposed to be the righteous, and we're supposed to be in authority. What happened was, when we were in authority, right? We weren't acting so righteous. And so it's like this. The Most High was like, man, I put y'all up here to act righteous, but if y'all just gonna act like just a nigga in the world, if y'all just gonna act like just like everybody else, wicked and evil, I might as well just have somebody set somebody else up here, right? Because you're not doing what I called you to do, what I asked you to do, right? And again, it was our job to do what? To be that purging agent, that purification element in the land, right? It says when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. When we do what we're supposed to do, when we purge out wickedness, evil, sin, right? When we purge out these things from all the nations and all the lands, right? The people will rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Now you can look at this twofold, because when we were ruling and we were wicked, people were mourning. It says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So we know right now the wicked is bearing rule right now, and you can see people are mourning. High poverty rates, especially between especially concerning the so-called blacks and Native Americans. You got a high poverty rate, you got high disease rates, you got high imprisonment rates, and that's just not us. That includes the rest of the world too, right? Talking about chemtrails in the sky, all these things, right? Um, Homosexuality, all of these things, right? So when the wicked bears rule, the people mourn, and that's a fact. And we all can stake claim to that in some way, form, or fashion, right? Let's see. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, man. It's almost like every time we come on here and do a lesson, we got to touch Isaiah. But Isaiah, matter of fact, we talked to a lady not too long ago. She said that was her favorite prophet, man. Well, I think we went to Isaiah like at least 15 times that night when we were dealing with the lady. But Isaiah is a mighty prophet. Let's go to Isaiah 58:12. The brother Azrael used to bring this out all the time. This is Isaiah chapter 58 and verse number 12. And they that shall be of thee shall build up the old waste places. Now going back to where it says the righteous, when the righteous rule, everybody will rejoice, right? So this is the direction that we're headed in, right? Let me see something. Yeah, all right. This is the direction that we're headed in, right? They shall build up the old. This is a future prophecy, right? And when you look at this, um, I think this is also written and something similar is written in Isaiah chapter 61 after you read the gospel as well, where it talks about us repairing the breach and stuff like that, right? But I'm gonna read this in, and they shall be of thee, talking about the Israelites, shall build the old waste places, that shall raise up the foundations of many generations. And thou shalt be called the repairers of the breach, the restorers of path to dwell in, right? So there's gonna be a time where we're gonna come and we're gonna be able to purge out wickedness, right? I don't have this precept written down, but even when it talks about us escaping Jacob's trouble, and getting to that salvation, man, he's saying that even then he's gonna be doing some purging, right, in the wilderness, right, and he's gonna get rid of all the rebels. It's gonna come a time where we're gonna be called to do that as well, and that is gonna be called the repairing of the breach, man. And when we repair the breach, man, restore the path, a lot of purging is going to be happening. Um, the Bible speaks about 2/3 of us being cut off, right? Before we even get to other nations, 2/3 of us are going to be cut off, right? So that's where we're headed to right now. to get our superpowers back, our purging agents, and our purification elements. Right. Let's see here. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 4. Let's see how we're going to be able to do that, and what's going to be able to give us our superpowers back. How do we get these superpowers, right? Um, that's going to be so effective to clean up the earth. Deuteronomy chapter 4, and let's start at verse 6. Well, let's start at verse 5. All right. It says, "Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments." I like right here. Of course, we know it's talking about the law, statutes, and commandments, but I like right here where it says, because it's incorporating judgments as well. "Even as the Lord my God commanded me that ye should go to do so in the land, whether you go to possess it," saying that He has taught us judgments, right? These judgments are another form of what correction, which then leads to, uh, the power behind um, what we do and what we believe. Ultimately, these judgments are going to be the things that purge out wickedness and evil and things like that, right? And even when you look in an elementary sense, how you want your kids to stop doing something that you don't want them to do, right? You punish them, right? That punishment is a way of purging out those that the evil which is within your child, right? Same thing, man. We talk about spare the rod, spoil the child. That rod, right? It says that if you don't love your child, if you spare the rod, why? Because that rod literally purges out that disobedience, that defiance within your children. Verse 6: "For these laws, statutes, and commandments, and these judgments, keep therefore and do them." Right? This is how we get our power, by keeping these laws, statutes, commandments, and taking heed to these proper judgments. Right? "For this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, Surely this great nation is a wise and an understanding people." This is where we get our superpower. When we come back to the Most High God, do His law, statutes, and commandments, we're circumcised of not just the foreskin, but of our hearts as well. This is where we get our powers from, where we can purify the land. We can purge out wickedness and evil, right? In us and other nations, right? The whole land, right? And it'll be easy because we'll be set up just like we said. We drive culture. If we're doing the right thing, of course, it's going to cause others to do the right thing as well. And that was the whole plan from the jump, to be the standard in the earth, to be the light that's on the hill. How can a light that's on the hill be hidden, right? And we've dimmed our light, right? And when a light bulb starts to get dim or starts to blink, right, or just dies, right, what do you do with it? You throw it away. That's what has happened to us, right? There's gonna come a time where we're gonna get it back right. You know what I'm saying? um but yeah, and so this is how we know, right, that the power that we're supposed to have is supposed to clean up our nation, is supposed to purify our land. It's supposed, just like salt, is supposed to purge out all uncleanness, right? Um, let's see here. Speaking about how we're gonna do that, right? Going back to verse 5, right here where it says, "I have taught these statutes and judgments." The judgments is, again, man, that correction is what's going to ultimately do it, right? And for us being set up to be the standard, to be above all nations, like it says in Deuteronomy 7 and 6, for nations to look at us as a wise and understanding people, we're gonna have judgments, right? The judgments that we were taught, we're gonna have to pass them down as well, and that's gonna be the purging power that we have, the superpower that we have, is to judge the world in righteousness, right? Let's get the book of First Corinthians chapter 6 and verse number 2. Right. Let's see. Right here, right? In First Corinthians chapter 6 and verse number 2. "Do ye not know that the saints shall judge the world? And if the world shall be judged by you, and are ye unworthy to judge the smallest matters?" That's a rhetorical question. letting us know that the saints are called to judge the world. Right now, man, we don't have the saints judging the world. Who are the saints? The book of Psalms will let you know that the saints are those that made a sacrifice with the Most High in the wilderness, who was at none other than the Israelites, right? God's chosen people, man. And so when we look at that, the saints, man, we're supposed to be judging the world with these righteous judgments that we were taught, right? And again, can't say this enough. That is going to be our purging power, right? Should have titled this video "Purging Power," right? That is the true salt that is within us. Not only does it apply flavor, but it also applies that purging power to clean up the filthy elements within anything, right? But in this context, it's talking about the earth, the world, right, and all of the nations. Let's see here. Da, 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 da. Let's see. Let's go to the book of Zechariah really quick. Now, to do this, it needs to be done. It's going to happen. But at first, it has to start within us, right? We have to start in-house. It says that judgment first starts in the house of Jacob before it gets anywhere else, right? Let's go to the book of Zechariah, chapter 13 and verse 9. Mighty precept right here. It says, and I will bring the third part through the fire and refine them as silver is refined, right? And I will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name and I will hear them, and I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God, right? So we look at these verses in similar passages, right, that talk like this. He always he always what's the word I'm looking for? Compares us to gold and silver being tried in the fire, right? Because fire, again, is what? It's a purging agent. It helps purge out impurities. It helps purify, right? And so, with that being said, man, it starts within us first. For us to be able to help purge the world of impurities, we have to be tried in that fire first. We have to make sure no impurities lie within us, right? Because it's just like cancer. A little bit of cancer, and when it starts to spread, it gets nasty, right? So we got to make sure all the cancer is cut out of us, right? Let's go to the book of Second Peter. I think this is my last one, right? So after we are changed, after we have been made whole, that new covenant finally issues in, right? Where it says the laws are going to be put in our inward parts and all impurity is out of us, right? This will happen as well, right? 2 Peter 3 and 10. 3 and verse 10. Right. So we got to get right ourselves. We got to get our house in order before anything. And then this will happen as well. 2 Peter 3 and 10. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. That's that purging agent again, right? The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burnt up. So once we get ourselves right, then the world, right, Christ on our behalf, right, he will purge the world and then set us back as that the standard, so we can be the head and not the tail, right? We can be that standard in the earth and judge righteously, right? And things can be set back in order the way they're supposed to. The salt that we have will have savor. It will add flavor, and it will purge out impurities in the land forevermore, right? As we rule in our kingdom under our King, our Lord and Savior of the world, eternally calls Jesus Christ, right? The Hamashiach, right? And so that is another take. I know this is Friday, but just something else that you can think about. Since we missed Think About It Thursday, this would be an honorary Think About It Thursday. When he thinks about, and when we think about Matthew 5, verses 13 through 20, where it talks about the salt of the earth, man. Keep that in mind. Not only are we supposed to add flavor, the flavor is all cool, all fine and dandy, man. Yeah, we can sing, yeah, we can dance, we can do all those things. right? But we really need that purging agent that's going to purge out those impurities, most of all, uh, not just to the land, but first and foremost within ourselves, right? And so, what if the salt has lost its savor? That's where you see us at right now. Um, the world is given to the hand of the wicked, man. That's where we at with it, right? That's the answer to that question, man. When the salt loses its savor, it's good for nothing, and the world is in chaos, right? So let's get back to being salty, salty crew, right? Let's get back to having flavor, and let's get back to being strong and potent, so we can purify this land. Right. With that, I'm Brother Dunal. Has been another lesson closing out the week. Hope you guys have a wonderful feast of dedications and a wonderful Shabbat rolling in here. Um, Giving all honor and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we do so by way of his Son, for the world, and then cause Jesus Christ. And we look to him as our instrument of salvation for our nation. It's been a pleasure. Hope this was edifying. Let us know if you guys have any questions. Follow us on all social media platforms, man. Till next time. Shalom.